What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Small Lake City podcast. I am your host, Eric Nilsson, and here we are on episode 5. So our guest today is probably one of the most energetic people I've sat down with so far and absolutely loves being an entrepreneur and has been since he was in middle school. And now he takes on the personal responsibility of making sure everyone in the Salt Lake Valley gets their soda and sugar fix. And I'm talking none other than the one and only Ethan Cisneros, or sometimes known better as Ethan from Thirst. So sat down with him and talked about his experience of starting Thirst Drinks, how he became an entrepreneur, some of the successes and setbacks that he's experienced through this process. So really excited for you to hear and get motivated by his story. So yeah, let's jump into it and hope you enjoy. Welcome, everybody. This week we have a super important and special guest here. We have Ethan Cisneros, the founder of Thirst Drinks, who helps supply so much of our daily supply of our sugar addictions that we all have. I fundamentally and firmly believe that Salt Lake is the capital of sugar, the drug of choice of Salt Lake. And it's been so fun to see how all of these different businesses have come to be. The cookie empires, the soda empires, the dessert empires of it all. And wanted to sit down with you, kind of understand how, the story all started, how you started here in Salt Lake, and go from there. So definitely stoked to have you here, Ethan.
Yeah, man. Grateful to be here. This is sick. I'm really excited.
Awesome, man. Well, without further ado, let's jump into it. So
let's do it.
I know you are, a Salt Lake native, not a transplant like some people we have on the pod, but talk to me a little bit like where in the kind of the area you grew up. What that was like for you.
So I was actually born in California.
Oh, interesting. Cool.
So I came here when I was 10, I think. So just in elementary school, my dad got a job here and the family moved over. So yeah, I've been here since elementary, and yeah, I grew up over in Holiday, so Olympus High, my high school.
What part of California were you in before?
Southern California, Orange County area.
The typical,
yeah. It's a place called Diamond Bar, but cool. Yeah. So yeah, I moved here and just went to work and growing up in Utah. So primarily, most of my memories are here in Utah. For sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I actually moved. So I'm from Utah, born and raised, but I moved when I was 10 to a different neighborhood.
Yeah.
Which, at that age.
In Utah?
In Utah. So I was living up in the Avenues before. Parents got divorced, and then we moved down to Harvard, Yale area. Just me, my two sisters, and my mom. And at that age, you have such little comprehension of the world around you that it almost feels like you're moving to another state. All my friends are gone. Have to meet these
What's
new
the
ones.
difference? Yeah.
Exactly.
Totally.
But when you moved here, because obviously, when you're older and you move to Salt Lake, it's oh, this place is different in a lot of ways. Yeah. Did you feel any of that difference when you came here, or what was your initial impression of Salt Lake when you arrived?
Yeah, no, we were kind of already in, we had a family here, and so I feel like we were already sort of Utah people before we came here. Maybe not fully, but it wasn't a huge shock, especially when I was that young. It was just kind of what it was. I think my older siblings, probably my parents, more so got that, we're in Mormon town, we're in the soda shop on every corner type of town, but yeah, no, I didn't get as much. It's just kind of what I've known from the beginning.
For sure.
I would say.
And growing up, in your formative years, was there any, sports you played a lot, any activities that you tend to frequent?
Yeah, I was all the sports type of kid, played football, baseball, rugby, raced dirt bikes with my family.
She's everything.
Yeah, we did a lot. I was always an entrepreneur kid too. My lawn mowing business is probably one of the most money I've still ever made. It's just it's literally the best way to make cash as a kid is to freaking mow lawns. I want to go do it on the side still.
So talk to me about that. What was the first way that you heard about that, or that aha moment? You're wait a minute.
Yeah, I think I found out about it through one of my buddies or something. His dad had mowed lawns or something. So my buddy Zach, shout out to my buddy Zach from elementary. We started Zach and Ethan's lawns. We just flyered every door around the neighborhood, and finally we talked one guy into mowing his lawn $20 a week, or maybe it was 15 a week to start. And dude, we both lived a half mile or a mile in either direction. I freaking put my mower or my trimmer and my blower on top of the mower and push that thing up
Jeez.
39 by myself. We met there, mowed the lawn, and dude, we did that, and we just slowly started to build. I think we had 25 lawns at our peak, and all of our buddies worked for us. We got to, and this is when I was 11. 25 was later on, but when I was maybe 15, like still couldn't drive. We had like legitimately 20 lawns a week or something like that. And some of them are big ones. And we bought this trailer. We couldn't drive, but we bought this trailer. And our moms both had Suburbans. And so our moms would take turns like picking us up and then dropping off the trailer in like a central location in a neighborhood where we could go like walk max a half mile to a different lawn with push the mower there. And then like at the end of the night, they'd pick us up. We'd have done all our lawns. And dude, we just hustled like every day after school. We'd do that. Every day in the summer, we'd do that. So it's legitimately still some of the, because there was no like entity set up. There was no sales tax.
You're not getting your LLC. You don't have your accountant. Yeah. You're just cash on cash.
Dude, that was like right into the pocket. Split it 50-50. It was awesome. But no, that was I will say like with that business, I learned a lot of like the basic mechanics of business though. Yeah. I remember one thing was I don't remember whose idea it was, but it was just like, this is how we would do it. We would take care of customers like crazy. Like we made these little cards that were like we would put them on the knob after we left. Cause you don't always talk to the person. You kind of bill them at the end of the month, like get everything in the month. We would put cards on there. We'd be like, hey, just letting you know, you got service from Ethan today or Zach today, like make it all personal. Yeah. And then like leave the card. If you need anything at all, like here's our number. Like we're so grateful for your business. And I always remember that. Cause it was like, I learned how to really take care of the customer on that business. That was like a prime example the first time I ever did that. And I saw it work too, because people be so appreciative. Where other companies just mow it and they dip. They don't ask if you need anything else. But
send you a bill at the end of the month and call it a day.
Yeah, dude. But yeah, the lawn mowing business, shout out to Zach and Ethan's Lawns, man.
I love, so I mean, every person I talk to always has those memories of like, okay, so my mom picks up, your mom will come get us. Yeah. And we'll do it. But like, it's usually like skiing or like going down to Gateway when I was a kid. Not like, hey mom, we're going to go make a couple $100 mowing these lawns all afternoon. Like, dude, see you later.
It was crazy. We had some adventures, but it was a good business. It was fun.
No, that's awesome. I love that you've put together so many of those, because like I'm a sucker for like a great customer experience. Yeah. Like I have a buddy that started his own golf apparel brand. And I mean, like the amount, like, and this guy is so detail oriented and just, it's like, there's a note with every package and the branding is always perfect. Everything's laid out. And I'm a sucker for that. Like if everything like is perfect and there's this like hitchless experience, I'm like, oh, like chef's kiss.
Yeah. The details,
all of the details. But that's awesome. So you have these summers, you're mowing lawns like a fiend. You're hiring all your friends. Yeah. Making real money. Like it's not like.
It was real. It was real. Like thousands of dollars. But like it wasn't insane, but it was real. Like we were breaking mowers and buying stuff, and we were like we were spending our money on whatever we wanted to. But yeah, and then when I was 16, have you ever where did you say you grew up?
I grew up
like in like the yellow.
Yeah, so I went to East High.
So did they have any shaved ice shacks around there?
Oh yeah.
So there was this one in downtown Holiday called Island Flavor. Mm-hmm. This was the spot. I don't know about yours. Like this, so 15, 16, you just starting to want to hang out with girls and friends like all the time, right? So there was and you just get your license, you like pick each other up, drive around. So we would go to this Island Flavor spot, and it became very clear to me. I was like, okay, people aren't coming here just to buy snow cones. This is the hangout spot. The cool people are hanging out here. Yeah. And all the cute girls are working the snow cone shack. Like all the girls that like I would like try to be going on dates with, they're flirting with, and like trying to go in the shack and like see what's going on in there. But this spot, it was popping. It was called Island Flavor. If you know, you know. It was a dope little spot. And I was like, man, I could totally do this. And then so yeah, like I said, I would become friends with the girls. And then literally like it would just be them sometimes on shift all day. So I would just go in there. They'd show me how to make all the stuff. I'd be like seeing how like this is all working. And I was like, I can do this. And then I would like do the math on like, okay, this is ice and sugar. Yeah. And they're charging like $6 for it. It's insane. Yeah. So I was like, I want to do this when I was 16. And so I started going to work on that. First you need a building, right? Like a shack. And then you need like a spot to put it, and you need a lease essentially with the landlord to put this shack there. Totally. And you need a business license, all this stuff. And so that's how I did. I figured all that out. I found a spot, negotiated a spot with the landlord for the lease. I went into the city hall, asked him, how would I do this? And started, it was called Olympus Ice. I wanted to be like the spot for Olympus High kids. So it was like a few blocks above, like a quarter mile above Olympus High. So I called it Olympus Ice. And that's what it was, man. Oh, and then I got a shack off. It was on KSL. It was like a coffee drive-thru shack.
Yeah.
And it was like 15,000 or 10 or 15,000. I had a little from the lawn mowing, but not that much. Yeah. But she put on the ad. This is like this lady owned it up in Heber. Her name was Sierra. She put on the ad, open to business inquiries. And so I put together. My dad is in finance, and so he helped me put together like basically a projection. I was like, I'm going to sell this many snow cones. It's going to cost me this much. I'm going to put it here. Here's my lease, and here's how much money we're going to make. And if you give me the shack to use for free, then I'll give you 50% of the business. So that was my first business partner. This lady, and
this lady off of KSL. She's like, sure,
yeah,
come grab it.
So yeah, and then so she ended up being my co-founder in Thirst actually. So she had owned a bakery up in Heber, and she had this shack that she was selling on the property. And basically I ran it for 3 summers and hired employees. This one we did legit. I had to pay sales tax, do inventory, because we were doing like 50,000 a summer or something. Like not crazy, but felt crazy. Yeah. Felt crazy at the time. And man, so we did Olympus Ice for 3 summers. And that's what I did, 16, 17. Basically, I kind of created it in 16, opened when I was 17, did it from 17, 18, and part of when I was 19 for 3 summers. So
I totally, that's so funny. Cause I remember when you said there like shaved ice places around there, like, yes. And one specific, and I actually went there earlier this summer. It's on by the old, it's not Shopco, but it's on by that McDonald's on Highland, not Highland, 21st South and 21st East by that Albertsons. There was always one in that parking lot for, I think it's an Anytime Fitness now. But I remember in high school. So when I say Salt Lake's the capital of sugar, I could easily be the mayor. My biggest vice is sugar. Yeah. I remember, do you remember Spoon Me? Yeah. So Spoon Me,
on 4 South.
Yeah. So I had 2 friends that worked there.
Yeah.
And so I would always show up and be like, hey, let me get some froyo. They're like, well, listen, they count the cups. So you have to buy a cup, but we will fill it up as many times as you want. And so I would sit there and hang with them and have 2 or 3 fillings of it, which is a lot. Yeah. And the same thing with snow cones though, because at that snow cone shack, there was his name was Chris Brown from Highland, not to get mistaken with one of my best friends, Christian Brown, but he would work there. And the hang was it. There would be tons of guys there. There'd be tons of girls. Girls would always be working. And he'd be like, oh, how does this work? Can I come back? Oh, you're putting cream on top? This is unreal. And totally love that. And even to the point where like I said, I have this electric scooter that I used to use more, but I was like, I'm gonna go on a scooter ride and get a snow cone. It felt like a 16-year-old kid again. It was amazing. But awesome, it's always all about the
spots. Yeah. Freaking shaved ice. I want to go back.
Oh, dude, let's start one up. But then also I remember I was driving back from, I think it was Southern Utah. I was down in Escalante earlier, and when I was going past or through Utah County, there was on the side of the road a snow cone shack for sale, and I was like, "Wait a minute!" Totally understand seeing that and being like, "I can make this work. This we could do this." Yeah. But now you have all the Hokuleas and all it's just been so commercialized that it's opportunity might not be there anymore.
Would slap right now.
Oh, any snow cone right now would slap. So you started this mowing business.
Yeah.
Then you're like, snow cones is the jam. You create the hang for the Olympus kids.
Yeah.
So then, you graduate, and then what? So those 3 summers are over, and then you go to college up to U. Was your entrepreneurial spirit still flourishing, or were you kind of focusing on school, or what was your mindset at that point?
So I graduated. I still owned Olympus Ice, so I did it for another year, and that's when I went to the U. So all my friends went on missions right out of high school. I didn't want to go on a mission, so I was going up to the U. I was running my shaved ice business. I was in my frat at the U, in the frat. And I was not focused on school at all. I was not really going to class. I was just running my business and hanging out with my friends at the U. I was using the U for social for sure. But I did that. I did 1 semester at the U just running Olympus Ice. And then I knew I wanted to do something else pretty quick in the entrepreneurial game and do something new. Swig, this is, Swig. Mm-hmm. So this is 8 years ago. So this is 7, 8 years. This is almost 8 years ago. They were just in Provo, St. George at the time.
Because I was going to St. George a lot during this time because I was dating someone down there.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'd drive past, I'm like, do you want to get a soda? I'm like,
yeah, it's like the thing you do in St.
Oh, yeah.
George.
Like it's, again, the hang, it's what you do.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just part of it.
It's a part of the culture. And swig is the culture in St. George still. It's crazy.
Not wrong.
But anyway, so yeah, they hadn't come here yet. And my business partner, so the lady that I did the shaved ice shack with, she had watched me work hard for a few summers. We made some money on, not crazy, but made some money on the shaved ice. And like I said, she had a bakery up in Heber, so she kind of knew like the small business game too. And we saw Swig blowing up, and nothing had come to Salt Lake at all yet. There was a couple little shops, but like So Delicious around, but mostly nothing had come. And then I stumbled upon this drive-thru space, 13 South, just west of State by the B Stadium. We still have it. It's our downtown store. But it was drive-thru space, and like just one thing led to another. We're like, we think we can do. One thing we did really good at Olympus Ice was we made it that hangout. Like Swig Thirst, we sell a brand. We sell an experience. We don't so much, although we sell products, and sometimes like we can even be known for those products. More than anything, we sell the brand. We sell the experience to the customer, where other businesses are more transactional based on the actual product. Like this is the, just like I learned, like when people were going to the Island Flavor, they weren't going for the snow cone. They were going because it was cool to do that, you know, to go there and be there. And so I was like, that I'm already doing that in my shaved ice business. This is just an advanced, full-time, advanced, larger scale, bigger menu version of that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we came up with Thirst, just created the brand from scratch, and we wanted to be an experience through the drive-thru. And it's honestly changed a lot, like the menu and other things, like the way we present that experience. But that's what we started as, what we always have been, probably always will be, is we sell an experience. So yeah, we wanted to do that. We found that first drive-thru in downtown Salt Lake. It was, I mean, it still is a rough area. There's homeless people everywhere, dude. It's like, you know, at the ballpark area. But and it was like failing other failing businesses before, like multiple, like it was like,
do you remember what they were? Okay,
it's like Big Kahuna's was in there. Freaking the one right before was it was a spaghetti shop, a drive-through spaghetti shop. That failed.
Sign me up.
Like no, dude, literally when we went in, like we were pulling down the menu, and like we peeled off one, and there was another food business behind it. We peeled it off, and there was another one. It was insane, like 3 failed menus.
And you're just like, great. Is mine the next one on this?
Sweet. The thing is, I didn't think that at all, though. I was just like, I was 18 when I was like remodeling that building, so I was young, and I was just stoked and knew I was positive it was gonna work. But yeah, so we created Thirst, and we opened. We had a fun grand opening, but dude, we were slow for a couple of years.
So what year was that, or when was that grand opening? Do you remember the date or year or month?
September 2016.
September 2016.
Yeah.
So you started the soda shop. There's been some similar ones. I mean, what's going through your head at this time? I mean, just from your tone of voice, I can tell you're super stoked on it and like just gassed and know it's going to work. But was there anything that, I mean, made you a little apprehensive or kind of cautious, or are you just mostly all steam ahead?
Dude, I was at the time, I was like just blindly all steam ahead. I had no idea what I was getting into. Like, just like the amount of like just responsibility that because I've run these businesses before, but this is talking every day. You're open at 8 and you close at 10, and someone's got to be there every day. I didn't really have that. The shaved ice is seasonal. The lawns, like you kind of do them when you want to some degree. So this is like a bigger step, but yeah, we opened, and like I said, we had like a fun grand opening. All my frat bros came. Whoever was left from high school came to support, but legitimately no one came. Like I think the first day after the grand opening, we did like $100 in sales, like $150 in sales. So we went, I had hired all these employees.
Yeah.
Like,
and they're just sitting there, they're like,
dude, I literally like, I thought it was going to be so busy that like I was going to need to be doing office work. Like I was so wrong. It was insane. But I literally ended up firing like all but like 2. I had to let everyone go.
Yeah, I can't pay you with $100 I made today.
Yeah. My co-founder, like we invested, like she had just sold a house, and like a house that she had. She wasn't like rich or anything, but like just sold a house, watched me work really hard for 3 summers on this shaved ice. And she put like literally like $70,000 into building out this restaurant.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like we didn't have any funding after that. And so
like money's gone. Got to start generating something, or
pretty
going to
much
be another one of those menus on the.
Yeah, it was like, and dude, I'm grateful for it though, because like I literally had to figure it out, or I was going out of business.
Ships were burnt. Yeah. You had to make it work.
There was make payroll. You got to pay vendors, and so
talk to me about that process. So because I think a lot of people, I mean, and myself included, they think that okay, I have this idea for this business. Obviously, they think it's amazing.
Yeah.
But then they go and launch it. They go to market and they're like, oh, wait a minute. This isn't the kind of like overnight success I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So how did you go from like, maybe, I mean, I don't want to call it like a low, but like that point to being like, what was your next step to say, okay, what do I do now to make this successful? Or what do I do to get the traffic that I want?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the most like clear entrepreneurship. One of my favorite parts about it is it's definitely one of the most clear correlations of I put in this much, I get out this much. And I learned that a lot at the beginning of Thirst because like I said, there's no boss to turn to, there's no more money. And so I learned how to do all these things. Like I learned how to manage my labor, how to manage inventory, how to manage COGS, and particularly how to do marketing and drive sales, all because I absolutely had no choice because I had to pay rent and employees. And so, dude, I just figured it out. I basically worked every shift for 2 years. I literally work open to close every single day. And in between every car, this is like right when Instagram was coming out. Mm-hmm. And it was like from Facebook, Snap, and like Instagram was peaking, becoming the next big thing. And I just went all in on it. All in. Like I was posting like 50 stories right when stories came out too. 50 stories a day on the Thirst page. I was DMing literally everyone that was posting in the city. And I was personally messaging them and being like, yo, my name is Ethan. I have this business downtown. Like, cause I knew the business was good and I knew I was doing good customer service. The products were good. I just like, I gotta spread the word about this. And so I would literally DM them and I would say, come get a free drink on me. Check it out. Let me know what you think. I wouldn't ask them for anything or to buy anything. And I just freaking did that till I fell asleep every night.
Just over and over and over and over.
I did that. Yeah. And just built little by little. Like there was no jump. There was no big jump. Like we did $100. Couple months later, we were up to 200. Couple months later, like I'm talking
just brick by brick. Yeah, there was no slow. Like, oh, I did this one thing and this changed, or I reached out to this one person and that changed. It was just
it was hustle. Slow. And so I did that and then started to build. And then another big win I had early was the Vivint Arena, as you remember, like 5-6 years ago.
So talk to me about that. How did that come to like did you approach them? Did they approach you?
It was getting rebuilt. Remember like 6 years ago now, they was getting rebuilt. And so I knew all the contracts were going to be up in there probably because they're remodeling the whole arena, putting new vendors in there. And Swig was in there. Swig was in there at the time. And so I was going into the concessions group that like owns and runs all the concessions. It's called Levy. I was going in there and writing personal notes, dropping off treats like multiple times a week, like emailing, trying to call anyone if I could just get a meeting because I was positive that I could convince them that like they should be all about the local businesses. I'm going to do better because I'm a local brand just down the road and like just had no business doing it, but I totally sent it.
Of course.
And I got a freaking meeting with the head of concessions there and I pitched them on it and they liked me, I guess. But yeah, they kicked Swig out, dude. Freaking built us a brand new Thirst in there because they were building everything anyways.
Yeah. I mean, it's all like, I can't remember the term, but when it's like, you can build it however you want to. It's not like you have to go into the old one. Yeah.
Yeah. So we still have that first one. So we have 2 now, but at the time, like
2 in Vivint itself?
In Vivint, okay. Yeah. Delta Center.
Thank goodness.
I still can say Vivint every day. But so it was, it's like the second level back, but I was stoked.
Oh, yeah. But you're there.
You're there.
It doesn't matter what your job is on the rocket ship, as long as you have a ship on the rocket, you can go from there.
Yeah, and so they built us a sweet Thirst in there, and it did awesome. Like I've always made money on that since it opened. Like they take a huge cut in there, but like it's great for the brand. Like you have to charge a lot of money. Like the arena prices are a ton. So yeah, we've always made a little money. It's been good, and then we actually got a second location a few years later on the main floor, like right in front of the main doors.
So obviously they liked you. It wasn't just he keeps writing me notes. Can you please just get him? Well,
I kind of kept that same spirit up where I would do anything. I still will do anything for the Jazz guys. Like they want freaking soda bar at their corporate meeting. Done.
You're there.
No questions. Yeah, if they need it, I'll bend over backwards because the little favors that I can do just as a vendor. But I've always done that because, I think it just makes sense.
Are there any other like anecdotes that you have where you're, personalized, kind of taking care of the customer or doing whatever it takes, ended up in, call it getting what you wanted or opening a door for you?
Yeah, I think that second location in Vivint is a prime example. Like I will literally do anything, but I don't know. I don't think of anything specifically, but I think of things like that in the long game. That's the only way I think about things is like how can I help this person? Because it's like one of those selfless to be selfish things, right? Like by being so selfless, like it's almost you get what your selfish wants are at the end of the. Maybe they're not selfish, like have bad intent, but like whatever you want typically will come around if you're more selfless, Yeah. And so, no, I've always kept that strategy, so I try to do things for people. But yeah, Vivint was our second store. And so we had those two and then we did catering too. We still do a ton of catering.
Yeah.
But we've done that for I think we were open for 4 years, just those.
Dang.
And then,
because one thing I love about the Vivint, and I'll say this really quick, but I was in Austin earlier this year going and visit a friend. And yada, 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 we met up with one of the people that lives in his apartment to go to this other social club where they had like a simulator and we are just going to go hit balls and watch the Masters because it was that weekend. And I was just talking to him, bullshitting, and he was like, "Oh, where are you from?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm from Salt Lake City." He's like, "Oh, you ever go to the Vivint Arena?" I'm like, well, Delta Center. But I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "That is a weird place." And I was like, "What do you mean?" Like, unpack that for me. He's like, "Well, I had a vendor that was giving me," he's like, "I had courtside tickets. And then I went up just to kind of go walk around and look at the place. And I went to go grab a beer and there was no one in the beer line. And I turned my head over and there's literally this line for soda, like wrapped all the way through the queue." And I was like, "Yeah, like welcome to Utah, like the sugar capital." And he's like, "I've never, ever seen that." I'm like, "Yeah, most haven't." But I'm like, it's so awesome that you got that. And like, especially having those experiences early on in your lawn business where it's like, oh, hey, like we wrote personalized notes. We took care of people. We made this customer experience our priority and how that's just cascaded into these times where, if you didn't do that and if you were just like, well, I'll email them or I'll try and see it, like it probably wouldn't have worked.
It wouldn't have worked for sure. Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And just like, dude, just like being literally just nice and friends to everyone just pays off such big time. Like for example, like all the other vendors in the arena, like always I'm going, like if I don't know someone, 100% going up to them, introducing them, like talking about how's things been going in the arena. Like that stuff plays out, whether it's a collab you do down the road, whether it's some piece of advice or, connection they can make for you. Like, I don't even ever worry about it because it just always plays out,
Totally. And like, and you never know. And like, this is part of like what I do for like work is like operationalizing like sales teams. And like one thing we always talk about is like, do your cold calls, reach out, do the hard things because it'll work out. And there's always like those like one source where it's like, the last call I made at the last day, they reached and they closed that day, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because like the older I get, the more I realize how important those are. Like even the other day I was asking someone for a referral to do something and they're like, "Oh, like I know this person that comes to mind," or "I know this person. I don't know them well, but I know that they do it."
Yeah.
And so who knows how many of those conversations are like, "Hey, like we have this event coming up. We really want to," like they want to have soda can. Like, "Oh yeah, you got to go to Ethan. He's the man. He always talks to me when I'm working at the Chick-fil-A at Vivint, and like he's always so nice." And like we like working with nice people who can help solve our problem. Like it's all of those
the best
things.
Business move, 100%. Yeah.
Without a doubt. And it's so funny when I like, you always run into people who are just, for lack of a better term, just like assholes for the sake of being assholes. And I'm like, how do you like, you think this is going to play out? Like, you think people are just gonna be like, "Hey, this guy seems kind of cool. He's mean to me."
Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah, I agree.
So, all right. So let's go back to it. So you have your store, the original one on 13 South, the one, I remember when I went there the first time, because when you launched in 2016, I was living in Seattle at the time, but I could always see on Instagram, like, oh, my friends would go through the drive-thru, like Thirst, like I knew Swig. But I was like, okay, Thirst, interesting. And I kept seeing it over and over and over again on stories because it became, again, like this experience that people want to share. And then that makes other people interested. And I remember the first time I went, I won an Instagram giveaway.
You did?
And I got like a $25 like Thirst gift card. And I was like, All right. And like, I always go through these like ebbs and flows of like my soda addiction.
Yeah.
Where like I won't have soda for like 2 months, but then I'll be like golfing or I'll be doing something like, you know what? A Coke sounds really good right now. And then for the next like 2 weeks, I'm having a Coke every other day. And then it stops. And then anyway, up and down, up and down. And I remember that kicked off a pretty hard soda addiction because every time I would go by on 30, because I was living, then I was in the Avenues ish, but I was always trying to, there's always a reason to go from like where I lived before, like Yalecrest area or like Avenues, getting to, like Target, Costco, anywhere over on 3rd West. I'd be like, well, if I'm going down 13 some,
I'll go over.
But like the thing that blew my mind the first time I went is like, there's like 30 cars in line here. Like this isn't like I'm just going through and they're like smiling. Like there was just consistent traffic. And so it's cool to see and hear like that story of like, it wasn't always that way and you just grew it all.
Yeah, man.
So you had the Salt Lake store. You got the places in Vivint. From then, what was your plan? What was the next stage?
So we opened our Mill Creek store. It was our second like brick and mortar.
And that's the one over by,
it's on 33rd and
my
kind of by REI,
goes to like Hector's,
Salty Peaks,
Salty Peaks, all around there. Yeah, because it used to be that. What was it before?
It's called Shivers.
Yeah, because I remember Shivers because that was the first time that's the first place I ever got like a dirty Diet Coke.
Yeah.
Going through.
Yeah, they did have them, huh? Yeah.
And so it's funny that they paved the way. They walked so you could fly.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But no, that thing, that's like, it's probably still like our premier store. It's got a big dine-in. It's our busiest store usually. It's just right in the perfect area. It's also
Hosting
right where I grew up. Yeah, it's right where I grew up. So I went to Olympus. It's like right up from there. It's right up from where Olympus Ice was. Yeah. So it's just a sick store. I love that store. And so, yeah, we opened that one. And then we opened West Jordan. We opened one out in West Jordan. Opened one out in Bountiful. Tooele. As I was telling you, I was just coming from there, training a manager tonight. And then we opened one in St. George last July, so about a little over a year ago. And then we have a bakery, a production bakery that one of the biggest things we sell is soft pretzel bites and beignets.
They're so good.
Yeah. So we have basically a bakery that produces all those every day. So there's a team in there making beignets, making cookie dough, making pretzel dough mix all day, every day. And then once a week, we ship them out to the stores. Yeah. And then the stores bake them up fresh and serve them.
Interesting. I didn't know you guys had it or you did it yourself. I always assumed it was some third
a couple
party
of years ago, we weren't always. We were buying them from other bakeries basically and just reselling them. But obviously, as you can imagine, there's no margin. Like the margin's like fractional compared to doing it yourself. So I saved up, bought the recipes of the beignets. I don't know, I'm not a baker at all, but like that's all I do for my business. But I bought my pretzel recipe. I bought all the recipes, I should say. Yeah. But I bought them. It's funny because like I just bought them from different places. Like this local pretzel place that was like super little popular Instagram pretzel place. Like they went out of business. I bought their pretzel recipe. Bought my beignet recipe from a bakery. Just like here and there, like came up with all these recipes, and just opened a bakery. Now we do more, like we'll come up with new products, and everything that gets served at the thrift stores comes out of there. So it's fun to have. But yeah, so we have basically 6 drive-through retail locations, drive-through and walk-in, dine-in areas, and then we do the Jazz Arena. We do the Maverick. We're doing the Maverick Center this year.
Oh, cool.
The hockey and stuff. We'll see how that goes, and then we do catering. We have a location just for catering that everything comes out of. So we do tons of weddings and corporate events. So we have like just a kitchen where that all runs out of, and yeah, it's been a heck of a ride.
What's your favorite part? Like if you broke down your, day to day or week to week or month to month things you do, what's the thing you're like, okay, I can finally do this?
Yeah. My forte is marketing. Like I'm best at that for sure. Being the face, like content. It's really what's made us get to where we are for sure. Like I also do all the operations. Like I kind of wear almost all the hats right now. Cool. But I would say I'm best at marketing, and that's like where I find my most enjoyment. But I do a lot of operations too. I have 200 employees. So like,
I'm sure you have it down. Because I'm trying to do the math in my head. So you have Salt Lake, you have what's called Vivint 1, Bountiful, West Jordan, Tooele, St. George, Mill Creek. Did I miss one?
And then just the production facility.
And the production facility / catering. So it's like, there's 8. Would you say by now you have like a playbook if you were to open one up next week that you would go through, or is it so different?
I definitely put in the work. We've got lots of processes and manuals and things like that. But no, I think like one of the things I see like crumble, and I see No, a lot of early stage businesses will find a little bit of success and then go franchise out really quickly, which credit where credit's due. Crumble's like the fastest growing franchise there is. It's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're bomb. But I think also a lot of businesses make a mistake of like finding a little success and then franchising everywhere, and the business really wasn't ready. Everything wasn't figured out yet. It was still a baby. And so I think about that a lot. Like we've been open for 7 years and I'm still tweaking the processes. And like, I want to sell franchises everywhere one day, but not yet. Like I'm still making all those manuals. I'm still dialing in profitability and scaling too. Like just and handling, chewing everything I've bitten off at this point. So trying to be patient, but also, I mean, I want to keep growing for sure.
Yeah, no, I love that you have, I mean, you're still a student to your craft. You're still saying, where can I get some more profitability? Where can we get a little bit more efficient? And I love that you have always stepped in this role of being the face of it all. Because I remember when I like first started following on Instagram or seeing reposts, like it was you front and center, being you, like just unabashedly. And it's, I truly do believe in like energies resonate with people. And like, if you put out this positive energy saying, hey, come here, it's cool, it's awesome, you're gonna like it. And like, again, like trying to message this experience that you're trying to curate, eventually they'll line up and people come through. So I love that you have that, but then also that it wasn't this instant, like, okay, there's success, time to make as much success as possible, but instead being like, you know what, there's other things I can do. There's other things I want to perfect. Yeah. Focus on the customers, focus on the experience. I mean, obviously all the operational metrics and components that go into it as well.
Yeah. I mean, to address the second point that you have is like, I'm balancing like everything I like to do, but also running a practical business. Like I have to make payroll every other week, which is crazy. It's a lot. My payroll is like a lot of money now. And we're talking about multi-millions of dollars of revenue. And so it's like a very serious job, lots of salary, people's family salaries are on the line. And so I take it super, super seriously. So yeah, like it's a balance for sure. But I mean, to your first point of me being front and center, I think it's just the greatest marketing strategy of all time to be authentic, you know? So like no one wants to buy from someone that they don't know the story behind it. You know, no one wants to buy from the corporate place, right? You know, that's always the thing. And so like the most original story and like tagline that we all have is our sell, like our authenticity. And so that's what I do in content. I'm front and center in it. I don't edit things a lot. I don't like try to make perfect stuff. I just post as much as possible, documenting the business. I call them the Thirsty Nation as our followers. Thirsty Nation. Like Thirsty Nation, what up? I'm out here today. Like this is some stuff we're working on. Like I know you guys are like saying the line's moving slow. We're working on it. Here's what we're working on. Like just like talk to them, just be authentic. That's always my strategy. So yeah, I'm front and center. Ethan from Thirst at the grocery store. Have
people ever stopped you and been like, hey, are you Ethan from
sure,
Thirst?
Dude. Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. It's like, it's fun. So it's kind of a weird thing to be like spotted for a lot.
But it's working if the people notice you. Yeah.
No, it's fun.
So from the path of beginning to now, I mean, what is something that happened that you didn't anticipate that threw you for a whirl, or maybe like a difficulty or a headwind you ran into that kind of made you sweat for a little bit?
I mean, I'm sweating right now, dude. I'm like in the thick of entrepreneurship right now. Like I'm like at that $5 to $10 million revenue mark. Like you're not like a huge business, but you're not a small business anymore. Yeah. And dude, it's they say that's the hardest stage of, at least in restaurant growth, and no question that's the case. Like just figuring out scale, people management, like and I'm really funded from the profit of the business mostly. So like when can we quite afford to hire this next position, and which one do you do next? So like I'm in the thick of it. So I would say, I mean, I'm still figuring out what the hardest challenge would be. I'd say one of the hardest things is just people management and scaling. Yeah. Like how do I say, and that's something I just think about a lot, is like, how do I say this thing a certain way to this person to make them feel a certain way so that they'll ultimately go do the job that I want them to do, you know? Yes. Whether that's managers or base level team members or corporate team members, like that is the game. That is so much different than running a soda shop, you know? Like the first 4 years I was learned how to manage cost of goods, manage labor, do inventory, and be the GM of the store. Now I'm multiple tiers back from that level. Like I'm teaching the person who's going to teach the person and holding that person accountable for holding that person. So it's a totally different game. And so I feel like the last couple of years I've like I'm restarting on learning something. It's like I learned how to run a food business. Now I'm learning how to get someone else to run a food business. It's a totally different game. So now I'm in the people business and I work through my team members. So it's a totally different game. I'd say that's the biggest thing is like making that for me has been the shift of I can control everything to now I need to affect the people that can control everything. And it's quite the puzzle, dude, for sure.
Do you have any employees that have been there either since the beginning or for a really long time?
Pretty close. I got a couple. Yeah. But we have pretty high turnover just because it's high school kids a lot and college kids or like, or not, but a lot of part-time. And, you know, we probably have like 50 to 75 like full-time 40-hour weeks, and the rest would be just like, you know,
hourly, take a shift. Yeah.
20 to 30 hours a week. So
no, that makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been a puzzle to figure out for sure. I'm right in the middle of it still, but
I'm sure it turns from like a jigsaw puzzle to like I'm trying to think of it, like those like metal puzzles where you have to like push things in the right way and they come
same
apart.
idea, just different shape type of thing. You still got to figure it out, but
still learning every day.
Yeah, it's been good, and we're like I said, we're right in the thick of it, and it's fun. It's what I do all day, every day.
You just
so I'm just at that point in my life where I'm a single guy. I don't have kids to take care of. I don't have a wife. Like I don't need anything. Like I share an apartment with my buddy. Like I don't need to make a lot of money, so I can put all my money back into the business to grow. And it's fun. I won't do it forever,
right? But it's fun now.
When I'm in this place, I'm 26. Like I like doing it right now. So I don't think there'll be another time where I can go this all in for this long amount of time. And so that's where I'm at.
No, it's so cool. Like I love that point of view that you're at right now, because I've had, cause I'm a little older than you, and I've had enough friends go through kind of like the period you're in where it's like, hey, everything in my life right now is this. Everything I'm making is going back into the machine.
Yeah.
And like, there's times with friends, I'm like, I don't know if this is a good idea. Like, but I don't want to be the one to be like, hey man, stupid idea, get out of here.
Yeah.
But the amount of them that, and I'd be like, I mean, I hate to be the naysayer, but like, I'd be like, oh, I don't know, man. Why don't you just enjoy things more? You're only young, blah, blah, blah. But then fast forward and it worked. And now they can kind of take their foot off the gas a little bit more, kind of step into a different phase of things.
Yeah.
But I mean, I totally can understand and see.
And
the
it's not
joy
miserable
of it.
either.
No,
like
I mean,
people
you're having
think
fun.
I'm like I work 100 hours a week, literally, because because work for me is my hobby plus my work plus anything else I do in my spare time. You know, like combine someone's job plus their hobby plus what they do in their, I don't know, like another hobby or
social,
something.
like
that's all of my stuff.
Yeah. And it's all wrapped in one little thing.
So I
that's
like
there for
it.
you.
Like it's not like it doesn't feel like a huge sacrifice. Sometimes like I'm like, but honestly, when I want to go hang out with my friends, I go hang out with my friends. Like it's like,
Good.
So I'm in a good spot. It's good.
No, that's awesome. I love that story. I love that, just like the sheer grit of building it brick by brick. But I guess as you're in this stage of kind of in that revenue space, it's because you've gone from validating the product, validating how to run a single one, to scaling those.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, where do you see from now? I mean, what does the next 1, 3, 5 years look like?
Yeah. So really, really perfecting the model. Like I said, I'm really focused on that. So priority for me is to nail it. Like nail it before you scale it.
And what does that look like to you?
I mean, to me, that looks like, well, I'll give you an example. Like my problem almost right now that I'm trying to solve is whenever I do marketing, the ops like will fail. It won't hold up to the hype, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm so focused on ops, then the sales are way down. And so like I'm fixing that bubble right now. So doing a lot of hiring and infrastructure around ops so that we can drive a ton of sales and the experience will be perfect. So quick moving lines, consistent product, having every piece of the operations be running smooth and profitable. Like profitable. Like I'm really hot on how much not how many units do you have, but how much profit are you making from each unit.
Totally.
Is something I wish I would have thought about like a couple of years ago before I was just clicking them off, opening a bunch of them. It's cooler to make more money off 2 units than no money off 6. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So I think about that a lot, but yeah, nail the profitability, nail the experience, and then I want to open probably 3 to 4 more units in Utah, to the places that are just begging for it. So like Utah County is a huge one. I think I could have 2 in there.
Oh yeah. They could be across the street from each other, and they'd both be just as busy. One northbound, one southbound.
Yeah, I'd love to be in Provo and Orem. Have been begging since we started. That's where it all started. So we definitely want to do battle up in there. Probably like Saratoga, Daybreak, some of these like really growing cities, and then maybe north like Ogden or Layton too.
Yeah.
But at that point, I feel like we're as far as St. George and everywhere in the valley, so we kind of got the state covered at that point. I think I want to do that over the next couple of years, and then I get a couple emails a week to buy a franchise, and so I just kind of mark them all because I'm not quite ready, but one day I want to, and I think in a couple of years, once we're all set up for that, and I'm owning all the stores that are running really well, then I want to sell franchises throughout the rest of the country.
Yeah.
I think we could sell them everywhere really quickly, but yeah, so we're going to be everywhere one day, but in due time.
For now, you got to perfect it all.
Yeah.
No, and it's like, it's always interesting too, because you look at a lot of the bigger brands. I mean, I think McDonald's is like one of the easiest ones. I mean, it's not soda specifically, but I mean, fast food drive-through. And I mean, the amount of ones that, I mean, McDonald's owns, it's like a third, I think, of all of the locations, and the rest are franchise.
Yeah.
And it's like such a, I mean, probably preaching to the choir, but like the way to get into a market, I mean, that's one of the easiest ways to do it, the least amount of investments. Like, hey, we'll give you the idea, we'll give you the product.
Yeah.
You go fund this. And then you're like, oh, this is working in Colorado.
Yeah.
Guess who now is building more locations in Colorado? I am. And
yeah.
go
I mean, it's
from
got its pros and cons, right? Like, and I don't even know, because I learned like, and I'm so like quick to change my mind, dude. Like I'll change completely like my whole game plan like quickly if I think it's the right move. But this is what I think right now. But yeah, I've heard lots of people, why don't you ever do the franchise route? Like, I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. I know everything else so
one
far.
Way or another, it'll go. But I will say you can't argue with what Crumble's done. It's insane. It is insane what they've done. Who knows how sustainable it'll be? But I think it's truly exceptional. It's insane.
It's crazy. Like just the other day, so I had a friend who's moving back to Michigan, and I can't remember how it came up. We were talking about Crumble or some cookie. I think it was Crumble. And she's like, well, there's no way there's one over by my hometown. I was like,
there's one. Yeah.
Look it up. I'm like, there's 3. And she's like, no, there's not. I'm like, pull it. I'm like, there's literally 3. Yeah. And then we zoom out on the map, and they're everywhere.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but it's fun to see that people have an appetite for it. There's value in it. There's growth in it.
Yeah.
And so it's a good place to be.
It's cool. Yeah. We'll see how sustainable it is. I don't think that it won't be. I'm just saying it would be impressive if it's a long lasting business. That'll be cool.
For sure.
Yeah.
So thinking about, I mean, Salt Lake this itself, I mean, what do you love about being here? And I mean, makes you grateful that this is the place that you started it all?
Yeah. I think Salt Lake is it's entrepreneurial in my opinion. Like I think it's the place to be, dude. And Utah for sure, specifically Salt Lake, because I feel like it's got more of a mix of different kinds of people. Especially like this, like my office is in the downtown store still, because it's just the best place to be. I think the best vibes in Utah. But no, I think it's the restaurateurs that I know here, the entrepreneurs that I know here, like it's a collaborative. People are stoked on your success, I think, a lot of the time. And so, yeah, man, it's been fun to be an entrepreneur here just because the city's supportive. It's a dope city, and like there's other people doing it that'll help you out. So I just think it's been good. I'm glad I'm a business owner here. I'm glad this is where it started.
Totally. And like it's so interesting to see. Because like, I mean, right now in the US, it's been interesting to see how cities have changed so much. And a lot of it's because of the pandemic where, I mean, pre-pandemic, it's like, oh, if you want to live in a big city in the US, it's like, oh, San Francisco, New York, LA, I mean, Seattle, blah, blah, blah. But then like all of a sudden, because of the pandemic, a lot of it's driven by tech. But like you start to see these like kind of like, I mean, tertiary cities, kind of like these Nashvilles, these Charlestons, I mean, Salt Lake cities, kind of go from like these smaller places to all of a sudden people are like, oh, if I can work from anywhere, like might as well be here.
Yeah.
And especially, I mean, you look at Silicon Slopes, that's all entrepreneurial spirit. You see, I mean, I'm finally to the point where like the food is starting to show up in Salt Lake. Cause like I lived in Seattle before where, I mean, the restaurant scene there is unreal.
It's
I mean,
insane. Yeah.
and so now I'm finally like, okay, like things are happening and it's all this entrepreneurial spirit. These people that have this idea and want to make it happen. And it's so fun to see Salt Lake be such like a forefront of that footprint of like, hey, we don't necessarily need to do all of these huge things that have this economic growth. Let's just remove these roadblocks and let's get people and these ideas and these entrepreneurs the road that they need and the path to make it happen.
Yeah. It's like the key to success, right? Like having booming businesses, like that's the economy, right?
Totally.
So like, no, I think I 100%, even just like a place like we're sitting right now, like it's just like sick that, this place is here, like to bring like-minded people together. So I think it's been dope.
No, totally. And so for context, we're at Edison House recording here again. And I mean, again, it's an idea. People saw an opportunity and they made it happen and it was well received and people love it. And I think it's only the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I think it might be on the nose, but like podcasts are the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, people, when podcasts first launched, people are like, hey, I'm going to start a podcast. Like, there's already hundreds of podcasts. Why would you do that? And then fast forward 5 years later, someone's like, hey, I'm going to start a podcast. Like, but there's already thousands of podcasts. Why would you do that? And like, it just kind of keeps going. And there's always room for entrepreneurs. There's always room for improvement. There's always room for, making something better, more profitable. And we see that every day here. And I mean, you see it even more every day in everything you do.
For sure.
But I guess like thirst in business and entrepreneur side, I mean, what are some of your favorite things in Salt Lake, places to go?
Yeah.
Food to eat?
Yeah. So I'm I like to support my fellow restaurant buddies for sure. I'll say, I mean, I like it. Like I grew up, like went to college here, like hanging out with my college friends. So I think the bar scene is fun here. And it's like, well, it's all like just part of like growing up for me. So I love hanging out down here, but, favorite places, Santabello. It's my favorite place to go to dinner. No question. I think, Regent Street's pretty cool. So I like Honest Eatery on Regent Street. I don't know if you've ever been there.
Yeah.
One of my buddies owns there. So Honest is in like Vivint Arena and they're down there and they're on Regent and they're in Foothill. So it's just like cool local, and it's all about just like homegrown stuff or acai and like health food, stuff like that. Yeah. So I don't know, just local businesses like that I think is sick and supporting local and lots of opportunities in downtown to do it. For
sure. And I like because like nightlife is something that I think is finally like getting to a point where it's really fun. And I'll say it like with this, because like when you go to a lot of bigger cities, like there's so many cool like niches or kitschs or just like these little things that they put a spin on. Like for example, one of my favorite bars from when I lived in Seattle was this place called Montana. And everything in that bar was from Montana. And so you're like, I feel like I'm in Montana. But they also had these Moscow mules on tap that was like fresh made, like with some sort of ingredients. Like there's one time they had this like blueberry Moscow mule on tap, fresh. It was amazing. Yeah. And so it's fun in Salt Lake now. You're starting to see a lot of that. Like, I mean, Waikiki is a good example where it's like, oh, upstairs it's drag shows, and in the basement it's going to be silent disco. Yeah. And then, but you just had what's that new Japanese bar? But it's just like, I mean, little quick Japanese bites and Japanese drinks. I'm like, this, like, we finally have something better than, well, we have Twist, that's for the college kids. And then you can go to Bourbon, that's for people who just graduated. Like, it was so much more just like, this is the bar that these people go to. Yeah. And like restaurants, things keep popping up. It's fun. I love being in Salt Lake right now. Like, and I don't know if you know this, but like, so last year I spent 6 months traveling around the country. Oh, nice. And I always had this idea that I was going to find this perfect place that's going to be the perfect fit. But after, I mean, almost 30 states and 6 months, I was like, oh, this actually just makes me appreciate Salt Lake. I'm gonna go home. Yeah, good to know. And so it's cool. I mean, it's not perfect, but I think of all the things that make it imperfect, you can avoid a lot of them. And then when you kind of, head to head against other places, you're like, oh, I'll take this over that. Yeah, like any day. So it's super fun. I agree. So I guess we could wrap up with 2 questions I always like to end with. First is, where can people find you, either on social media or, I mean, we know locations, website, where do we find you? Where can we find your marketing that you post every day? Yeah, I mean, so Thirst Drinks on all the social platforms, that's our business. And then I basically document all of entrepreneurship. It's basically my personal brand, but I would say it funnels into the business, but the main
sales for the business, but the main priority is just the documentation of entrepreneurship. So I do that on Instagram, Ethan from Thirst. I do it on my podcast, which is called Learning by Doing, because that's how I learn things.
By doing, of course.
And then I do a weekly vlog on YouTube, just about running the business behind the scenes. Just I have a camera girl that comes and does a vlog with me once a week, and then Ethan from Thirst and Thirst Drinks. But yeah, I'm just trying to pump out the story of my business.
No, it's a great story, and I love that we live in the time where we can document it that much.
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny now. Like, I mean, we're in the golden era of TV, and now we have like a documentary coming out every day that's something like super fascinating. And like, but there's so few ones that it's like, oh, and here's this footage from that. Like, and I don't know why, but like the Kanye West documentary comes the most, where it's like, he just happened to have this friend who happened to have a camera, who he believed his friend was going to be the next big thing. So he just started filming. Yeah. Where now it's like, I mean, you could have someone follow you around every day and literally pay them, or you could have a phone with a camera. You can, and it's just so much easier and accessible.
Yeah. Think about like, if we could have the playbook that like of anyone we look up to, like if I wanted to be a successful entrepreneur, I go watch Mark Cuban while he's a kid, you know, like while he's my age or whatever. That's crazy. That would be insane. And so, yeah, if nothing else, my grandkids will like it.
Oh, without a doubt.
I'm going to go watch Great Grandpa's vlogs.
And then the last question I have for you is, if you could have someone on this podcast to hear about, I mean, their story and what they built, who do you think you would want to have on here?
Yeah, as a guest for you.
Yeah.
Ooh, I would probably go with, I'd probably go with Lauren Warner from Honest Eatery. I'll go with Honest because I mentioned them earlier. But just another local entrepreneur, super good guy. She's a lot of things the way I do in the entrepreneur space. But I just think like restaurateurs, business owners, such a sick market, and like such a sick, at least for me, intel of how they did it and what they're up to in the city. So
no, I'm with you. I love entrepreneurs, hearing their story, because like I'm someone who overthinks everything. And so if you give me enough time, I can talk myself out of anything. But I find I'm most happy and most successful. I'm like, hey, ignore that voice, keep moving forward, make it work and make it happen. So I always love hearing those stories of, it's like another data point of like, yeah, it can work. Especially like in restaurants where, I mean, you look at the stats of like restaurants that fail, or like how hard it is, or how little money, and like there's a million reasons not to, but then people are like, hey, no, but I think I can make this work, and there's this idea. Yep. And I'm just going to do it. And then they do. Yep. So it's awesome. But I mean, Ethan, thank you again for coming and hanging out.
Awesome. I love the vibe. I love wish you all the best with the podcast adventures.
Much appreciated. As you said, it's all about putting yourself out there, having the right vibe, and building it brick by brick, and it goes from there.
Heck yeah, man. Good luck.
Absolutely. Thanks, boss. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Salt Lake City Podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, review, subscribe, and share this episode with your friends. And we'll catch you next week. We'll see you there.